Alrighty, it's going. Everything's happy. You're unmuted now. Congratulations. Uh, so today is what is the date? May 9th, Saturday. Doing it Saturday today. I'm Steve. If people don't know, I'm interviewing people. Today's guest or person that I'm talking to is good friend and music teacher and recorder and plays like every instrument you can think of, including like weird stuff that the saw, whatever. Erik Olson. So, yay! Don't have an applause button. Um, and so the whole point of this series is just to hang out, and just get to know different people in different musicians, different teachers. Wow, there's vehicles driving by. And so if you are in chat, there's a couple people in chat right now. You can ask questions and I'll direct them towards Erik. Otherwise, we're just going to talk about your music background and all that stuff, and kind of how you're dealing, because you're a private music teacher, how you're dealing with the whole social distancing COVID thing. So, first of all, how's it going, Erik?
Oh, it's good. um, the whole world is kind of turned upside down, so everything is relative, right? All things considered, yeah, things are going fine again.
Yeah.
Yeah, how are you, Steve?
How am I? I mean, that's always a loaded question these days, as you kind of pointed out there. So yeah, I mean, you saw my announcement yesterday. I don't know what's gonna happen. It's kind of like I'm not with Martha's anymore, and it was a good thing. But now it's time to move on because I don't know what the future looks like. So, and that won't come till like probably July that I come up with any final decisions. But there'll be announcements in June, that sort of thing. But again, who knows? We could have all these plans laid out in the next few months and be like, oh, okay, I guess everyone turned into zombies suddenly. And then it wasn't just like a virus. It was like everyone's a zombie.
Yeah, it's strange to have like your calendar kind of in an instant just wiped clear, and I could literally go into my calendar and taking events and gigs and the latest thing, I had a few free weddings this summer that I was booked to play. And I feel badly for those couples because they have to postpone and like we don't know how long, so we have new dates like October, November, but like is it gonna have to be moved again?
Right.
So anyway, just the uncertainty for everyone, for everything.
Well, yeah, even like the big band was supposed to do Carson's wedding, right? Trumpet player in the big band, we were supposed to do his wedding, and the big band would be too many people in one space. So, because what is it here, like 15 limit right now? In like one, it's supposed to be limit, whatever. Yeah, I mean, even just gigs, period. Who knows when like live events can happen again? That's the one thing I'm curious about.
That'll be one of the last things to come back.
Yep.
Big festivals and concerts and things.
Yeah,
I read a study about a study this past week for the choral community and for like choirs when we can start singing again, but that's one of the most kind of likely to spread scenarios, having a group of people singing and projecting. So the scientists were kind of saying, well, not until there's a vaccine and there's like 95% of the population. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, they like till 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years before a choir can get together again. That's a big hit too.
well, and live musicians, it's like, I don't want to touch somebody else's mic. I'll bring my own microphone. That kind of thing. Like, I don't, and yeah, even just a crowd of people too. Like, who knows? It's weird. I don't know. I'm just gonna see if I can do. Just, that's fine. Okay, I'm good. I got it. Oops, I just hit my mic. You were a little quiet. Now I've turned you up. So congratulations.
Okay.
Now hopefully you're louder.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, I even look at the market, right? Like, we've done the market. So Erik and I, we've done a lot of stuff together. And the past few summers, how many summers have we done this? 3? Would this be the 4th or something? This would be the 4th.
The 3rd or 4th, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, last year's was kind of a bust because of all the rain. I think we did like 2 or 3 maybe.
Right.
But yeah, we do the market downtown. If you've seen the Hartman and Olson page, we have a piano that your wife and her sister and a bunch of people painted. We did like the primer and like, go ahead guys, you can be creative.
Which came from your parents' house too.
Yeah. So yeah, we put that on a trailer and we haul it down to the market that meets at TD and Cameras by TD. Hauled it a few other places too, but that's been the main one. But yeah, who knows? Because that's a lot of people in a small space too. Right. So
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that. But
I'm hoping I've been
it'll-
looking into it and they don't know yet. So there you go.
Right.
But it's all these things like, and it's even difficult. You watch some of these concerts that people put on or whatever, where they're like all doing their own part, and you can tell it's like, there's definitely, it's missing that cohesive like bond kind of thing. You can tell they're all each doing their individual part at their own time because there's something.
Yeah, it'll never be the same or as good as just being together with people to play music for sure.
Yep. And yes, we plan on, we were going to do a song, you and I just need to actually improve and get better at what I'm doing. Because I do want to, it'd be fun to do more, like to actually, for us to do, you do your hands on the keyboard, I play whatever. Yeah. Anywho, so yeah, Eric, tell us about, so you were, tell us about your musical origins. Where did you start music? How did you start loving music? Because I've seen pictures of you. It doesn't look like you love music, but whatever. Like when you're a kid, you look very nonplussed in some of those pictures.
My parents encouraged it, and that means that, like any music student, there were times that I wasn't thrilled about taking piano lessons and things, but I'm sure glad that I have stuck with it. No, I kind of started being surrounded by music in church. And I know you've talked about this as well, in a Lutheran setting with kind of 4-part harmony. And so that's like in my really early years, I was influenced by that for sure. And to school, elementary school music, recorder. I loved recorder. And that's not every student does, I guess, but that got me excited. In junior high band, I played the trumpet. It's from my parents. Like my mom plays piano and my dad played the trumpet. So like already having the instrument in the house, I was already felt like I had a step ahead.
Is that the trumpet that's like that unfolds right now?
It's in very rough shape. It literally falls apart. Like it's,
yeah, okay.
It's in rough shape, but yeah, I never try to play that one, and I don't think my dad really does either. But
right.
Yeah.
But you try to play anything too. That's your thing. You will play any instrument that's thrown at you.
Yeah, I'm curious about instruments and sounds and how they produce sounds. So I like to try things. That doesn't at all mean that I am a master of them, but I like to experiment.
We just don't give you a tambourine, that's all.
No, there are some that I should stay away from. Rhythm instruments and drums and shakers and tambourines, I like them, but I'm just not very consistent with them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of my deal, but mostly piano. I mean, piano lessons as a kid.
But you sang too. You were in choirs and stuff.
Not until grade 12, not until high school. Yeah, so I went to Hay Lake School from kindergarten to grade 11, and then came into Camrose to the comp because of Mr. Spila's band program's reputation. So I knew it was a desirable place to be, or my parents did actually. They kind of suggested that I switch. So yeah, I didn't start singing until joining the chorus class and choir in grade 12. Yeah.
Well, and that's where we kind of met, like through, I think it was the Karaz tour. He was Karaz, right? Where I got to know you a bit.
Yeah, I went to Banff.
You did I just remember you doing a song on Kong. This might embarrass you. There's video of it though, I think. So you played a weird song.
There
and
is
you're all
video,
like,
yeah.
what is happening? Because this guy's just quiet all the time.
Yeah. Now I'm curious. Now I feel like I should go dig that out, not to show anyone, but just to look
There
at
is
myself.
evidence of him being weird. There's another video, but we won't talk about that now. But it was my sister's drama project. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh man, what what was that called?
I think it was Sven.
Sven.
You wore that hat. You did something with ice cream at one point.
There's all kinds of embarrassing stuff. Yeah.
It's not embarrassing. It's fun. It's good times.
Oh no, it's definitely embarrassing.
Yeah, if people found that. Oh, it'd be good. But yeah, so then, because you played euphonium, not to be mistaken with baritone, right?
Correct. They are slightly different. So I started trumpet in grade 6 at Lakes, and in junior high, I think grade 8 or 9, we didn't have any low brass in the band. It's a very small school band.
Right.
So the band teacher asked if I would switch because it's the same fingering. It's still valves, and from trumpet, it's a pretty easy transition. So switched to baritone, and then euphonium, going to the comp. And then that ended up being my second instrument in university as well. I took lessons with Wendy Grasdahl at Augustana. So yeah, piano and euphonium are kind of my two main things, I guess.
And you took, like, you have a grade 10, right? Grade 10 RCM. Do you have that?
No, I don't.
But you have your jazz piano. That's the important thing.
Yeah, I only went
Nobody
up to
cares
grade...
about RCM.
Well, no, some people do.
I know.
So I only did up to grade 8 in high school, grade 8 RCM. But then kind of flipped over to the jazz program at Augustana and did a Bachelor of Music in jazz piano.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, you don't need it anyway. You can read like anything that's thrown in front of you. So.
Oh, it's all relative. I've encountered people like Roger Admiral, professionals who really like, for the Western classical music, they can actually sight read. And then, anyway, so it's all relative, but
Yeah. Well.
yeah.
Yeah. Comparative to maybe this community, but you're somebody who can play whatever sort of idea-ish. We'll say.
Yeah,
ish.
I like different styles for sure. Like I like to dabble in, classical or jazz or pop or different things for sure.
And we'll get you to play something a little later, but like what is your like, what if you were to like equate like your inspiration, whatever, what's like your favorite music that you always come back to, would you say?
I kind of know more of what I don't like than what I do, I would say.
Okay.
It's like if I put my phone music playlist on shuffle, it'll just make your head spin because it can jump from like just the most random things. So I have a hard time kind of pinpointing like my music is one thing. But I don't know. I could kind of narrow it down to artists like Sting or Jacob Collier is a new kind of a younger musician that I'm really interested in. Some jazz and classical, and yeah. The thing that interests me a lot right now is some pop music, and they're just requests from my students of, anything that they want to learn will get me hooked onto new music that I otherwise wouldn't have found. So yeah, it keeps me interested in pop music, just making arrangements for my students and that kind of thing.
Right. I'd always be mean a bit and be like, that's a stupid song. Well, just not even that. It's like, okay, you're playing 3 chords. You have to learn the chords. They're like, I don't want to play those chords. It's like, fine.
Yeah.
Because they're like bar chords or something on guitar, and they're like,
Right.
That's too hard. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, no, I like that though, because most pop songs are 4 chords,
Yeah.
but then it's all about transpositions. Like, okay, we can learn it in G, but now let's learn it in all these
Yeah.
other keys and look at the theory and stuff. So I kind of appreciate that about
Yeah,
pop
well,
music.
and that's kind of, I go through that 1-6-5 or 1-4-5-6, whatever, the progression, the most common progression ever, right? And I'm like, this song can be played if you make that whole equation of like, you can just input if you know the chords that fit in there, you can just input them in 1-4-5 6,
For sure. Yeah.
and then
they're
rearrange them and play every song in the world.
every song in the last 20 years, take those 4 chords and put them in a different
Yeah.
order. And yeah.
Or there's a chordal substitution, and you're like, oh, that's interesting.
And then that's when I get excited, like, check it out. It's something different.
Yeah, but they put a 3 in there, and you're like, why? That sounds bad. It's boring. It's like, why didn't you do the 5 or something? That'd be
just,
wrong.
yeah, just 1 or 5 instead. Yeah.
Yeah. Or they just do an inversion or whatever, and it sounds different, but it's really.
Oh, I have a
You have a cat.
cat behind my head. That happens sometimes. I'm not really a cat person, but there's a cat in my house, so there it goes. That's
Lovely.
Misto. Misto
yeah.
the cat.
Okay, so when it comes like what we do, we have like a binder essentially of just like random music, and I think that's the eclectic part of it, is that we just pick whatever we like. We don't care. Like we did cartoon stuff. We do cartoon stuff, I guess I should say. But what we did last year, like, we did like DuckTales and stuff like that, just silly songs, and then we try to be a little more serious.
Yeah, and that's always kind of been my thing too. Like at one point I would have answered the question like, what's my favorite music? And I would say cheesy music. Like it's the kind of music that people make fun of you for. Like that's kind of what I am often into. So doing like cartoon themes and
Yeah.
ridiculous arrangements of otherwise cool songs, but like
Making
flip
fun
them
of them.
upside down and kind of make them strange. And yeah, that's kind of what we do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's merit to that, where you're just kind of being different and unique without, because there's that cover everything and just do almost essentially making it a tribute. Because like cover is like you take it and make your own. Tribute is like try to make it as close to the original. And a lot of people just keep the whatever they listen to, try to make that. But it's like when you actually make it your own and like really, if we want to do it like jazzy style, we've done like Bad Romance. I think we've tried a few different ways with that.
Yeah, some Lady Gaga.
Yeah. We've done, there's a few that we've just, whatever, we just changed them up just to make them what we do. Especially they can fit to like the big bass and piano or whatever, and just.
Yeah, it has to fit your instrumentation and your circumstance and your audience too. So it's a little bit different if we're just jamming for fun.
Yeah.
Versus being in front of people where you have to kind of take into consideration what they might want to hear.
Well, and this might just be me when we play, but I'm like, we're doing our own thing. If people want to listen and like it, then fine, but we're just having fun here in this space.
For
like,
sure.
If you don't like it, keep walking.
Keep walking. That's the thing about like playing on the street. People aren't asked to pay an admission fee to come see us. So if they don't like it, exactly, you can literally keep walking down the street.
Yeah, I mean, we're not paid to be at the market. People, if you want to, I don't know how busking's gonna work this year, but give us money,
we collect pennies. We put out our tip jar.
Yeah. I've often wondered how many people actually think we're paid to be down there. I'm like, we're not. We haul this thing on our because we like move a piano because we like to do it.
Yeah, that's dedication, right?
And some days that's painful. Like, I remember the one year it was like really hot a few days, and we were just like, by the end of it, we're just like trying to lift this thing onto the.
By the end of the season, I get bruises on my forearm here from trying to lift that thing. It's good that you're a big, strong guy because you can do it.
It happens. I mean, that's always fun. But we also like. So what other? We do the busking thing, but what other things do you do as a musician? What stuff do you play with in this area of town and things? That's the question.
Well, like you, I play in the Battle River Big Band, and in that group, I play the valve trombone because it's most similar to the euphonium. So it's my way of getting into a big band without learning the real trombone, the slide trombone. Anyway, so that's really fun.
Well, it will be fun, hopefully,
it will be fun when
we've met on that, and hopefully we're planning next season, but
yeah.
Anyhow,
and I play occasionally for weddings and funerals and that kind of thing. Funerals usually would just be a solo piano kind of
Right.
thing. And weddings, I have started playing with Maya Rathnavali, who plays violin, and my brother-in-law Andrew Agri plays cello. So we've got violin, cello, piano kind of trio that fits really, really nicely for weddings. So that's the group that has a few gigs coming up.
Oh, and if you, by the way, if you want to, if you need to get in touch with Eric, there's in the description, there is going to be stuff where you can contact him. If you notice, there's icons at the bottom. That's like his Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, but also his website. That's all in the description of this stream, so you can go check out stuff there. Anyhow, continue. If you want to hire him for stuff like that.
But most of my work life is teaching private lessons, piano and guitar, and I travel to students' homes. For the most part, on Mondays, I'm working through the Augustana Conservatory, so I'm in the practice rooms at Augustana. I mean, this is all before COVID.
This is
everything.
Yeah, it's like
pre-COVID. Yeah, everything is online right now. So I am doing online.
So
lessons.
I want to ask how that's going for you though too, because I talked to my sister and she does online. Melanie, she does voice lessons, which is interesting enough doing that online. But how do you find online?
It's okay. I think I would rather be in the room with the student, but as an alternative, it's actually okay. It's pretty good, I find. However, it depends on, of course, the student and their environment. Like if they have a quiet enough kind of space without distractions, and if the camera angle is okay, and if the internet connection, like there's so many variables, right? Yeah. So if all of those variables are kind of in place and working, then it's fine. Okay. But there are so many things that can go wrong and make it difficult.
Well, even when we started this, there was a Zoom issue, right, with you. So it's like that.
Yeah, it'll just crash, and we don't have an explanation why, and start over again. Yeah. I think it would be really challenging to have online lessons with really young students. So I just kind of from the outset suggested that just kind of older students try this. So like with a 5 or 6 year old, I don't think it would really work that well. So I'm not doing that right now.
Well, and the one thing I think with online is that, I mean, because we don't know, we talk about like when things get back to normal, whatever that means. But let's say you do start going to people's places, but then it's like, oh, this happens again. Well, at least maybe there'll be some setup to go to online. You could just flick that switch and be like, well, we can't do this. So, and just almost, I think in this climate, you're going to have to be, that's almost like a standard for the next at least year, if not more.
Yeah. People will come to expect that as a possibility. And I know that, like some students might prefer it, just even if we could meet in person, they'd still it's quick and easy, and there are other advantages like screen sharing and like annotating screens, and
well, it's direct too, right? You can just like send stuff live instead of being like, okay, next week I'll have this file for you. It's like, no, it's like, there it is, there's your file.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And like for me traveling to students' homes, I sure noticed the difference of like hitting accept a call on my computer or tablet versus getting in the car and driving for 20 minutes and like saving the travel time. So it actually saves a lot of time
you can just group all the students into like
kind of back to back instead of, because right now I leave 15 minutes in between lessons, which doesn't seem like a lot of time, but it's just enough to drive across town if I need to get between houses,
especially in the winter or whatever.
All
right. But yeah, I think that's part of my consideration too, is what does the fall look like? What does even summer look like for if I teach? So, and that's going to be coming out whenever I feel like announcing things. I've figured that out. They'll be online, they'll be whatever, because I think that's where things are moving at this point. Like if people aren't set up for it, they better get set up for it. But I also think there's going to be importance to that as much as like people might not be able to afford music lessons. I think of the flip where it's like, well, if some people might be too nervous to actually send their kid back to school, I mean, private music lessons might be nice, because then the band program even. I wonder how that's gonna even look because you're spitting
Yeah,
into an instrument. Like,
I think there will be a lot more students being homeschooled,
yeah.
and music lessons are always going to have a place in the homeschool
Yeah.
program, I think.
But I can see that where, there'll be a need for private teachers. So
Yeah,
it's,
we'll see what happens. Yeah.
that's the whole thing. But yeah, so, but yeah, that's one thing. The biggest thing though is sometimes I find, especially smaller communities like Camrose, internet connections. Depending on the place you are in town or something, there can be just crazy internet issues.
Yeah.
And
I haven't really encountered many issues, thankfully, but I know it can happen. Yeah.
yeah, well, and I know the one person like, well, if you're like cable here, if there's a lot of people on at the same time in the same area, it's just your speed is dead. Like, so like with everybody's on it essentially. So the infrastructure of internet, hopefully it improves. But all right. So you did jazz piano in university, but then you did all your music program. That's a 4-year program, bachelor of music.
Yep. Yeah.
And
4 years.
Your major was jazz piano, and then you did a secondary instrument of euphonium. You sang in the choir. Were you you were in encore too, right? Were you in the first year or just second year on?
Yeah, we had a jazz choir at Augustana called Encore, and I was in that for the first, I forget, a couple of years or something. And
Were
I think
you in first year though, or was
not
it just
no not the first
okay.
year. Honestly, I don't remember.
Well, I mean, how that's like almost 20 years ago at this point.
That's terrifying to think about.
Yeah.
So I was in it for a period of time.
And then,
And then
so that was 4 years, and then you went into what was next? Where did you go after that?
So then I moved to, well, I spent 1 year after Augustana kind of working over at Rosehaven for the Bethany group, doing in the recreation therapy department, which is great. I got to play a lot of piano in that role. And then I moved to Vancouver, and I went in Burnaby, there's a school called the Art Institute of Vancouver, and studied professional recording art. So I have a diploma in recording. Yeah.
And so as I mentioned, like Erik does sound recording, right? Like you had a business and everything like that. So again, Erik's contact information and like follow him if you want him to record stuff. It's down below and mix things and stuff. Anyhow, continue with your art institute.
Yeah. So that was 2 years. That was like 2006 to 2008. I did that program in Vancouver. And yeah, really, really enjoyed that. It was very expensive to go to that school. So it's like, how do you make back that tuition? Anyway, that's beside the point. So at the end of that, I got interested in classical music recording, and I did kind of archival recording for orchestras and choirs and things. So I'd show up at a concert and set up some mics, and just so that they can have an archival recording of it. So I started a business called Night Owl Recording with my friend Joel Moore. And yeah, so I still have all those nice mics and recording equipment and stuff just behind me here. And I haven't had a lot of use for it here in Camrose, but I'd like to make use of it some more for sure.
So you heard it here. If you're watching this live or later, Erik still does music recording. He wants to be hired, so hire him at eriksound.ca.
Good advertising, Steve. Nice.
That's what this is. So
yeah,
it's kind of, again, if anyone's watching this later or now or whatever, this is kind of, you're allowed to promote yourself. I don't care. Go nuts. Just like you could have a shirt that says Erik Olson or Erik Sound, because it's Erik Sound, not Erik Olson Sound. It's eriksound.ca. You could have that on your shirt. And then a hat.
Yeah.
You could have all of that.
I should get all of the merch. Yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah. So, because it was Night Owl, right?
Night Owl Recording, which we still have a website, but when I moved back to Camrose after Vancouver, that was in 2015. For a couple of years, hired engineers to keep it going in Vancouver, and so they would go and record the gigs but send the files to me, and I would do the mixing from my basement here. And that was okay for a while, but then my business partner Joel, he went to med school and he's a doctor now, and he moved away from Vancouver and he wasn't there to have the gear. So anyway, long story short, we still have the gear, but it's not really an active business.
Right.
But it could be if someone wants some work done.
www.Erik Sound. Why do I keep saying Erik Olson?
Eriksound.ca.
There you go.
Yeah.
Contact other things you can follow him, and all those things would be down the bottom. But you could essentially do it mobile, right? Like you have gear that you've recorded on.
Yeah, I show up at in a church or a concert hall or whatever, and with a laptop and microphones, and the whole idea is it's mobile recording. So we never had our own studio space, but sort of just depending on the acoustics of whatever venue we're at, which is very much the way that classical music works anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Very different from recording a rock or a pop album, that kind of
Totally.
thing. Although that was kind of more the focus when I was at school, is like being in a studio environment and building up rock and pop music.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's like isolated acoustics versus like open, right? Like classical, you're just like in the space there.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
And so yeah, you're still you've done like some sound recording here, nothing crazy though, right? Like just like little, whether
A
it's your own
couple-
recitals for students or
Yeah, a couple little things, but
like you've
I
done it
haven't
for
really.
Maya and Art, right? Maya Rathameli and Art.
Yeah, Maya. And Jerome,
That's-
there's a trio.
That's what we play with them. But like there's something we play with.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, you recorded some of that. I should ask them to come on too eventually.
For sure.
Anyhow. Okay. And then so outside of all this like music stuff, and I'm sure like you're pretty much music, right? Like that's your thing. Like do you do anything that outside of music, hobby wise?
Yeah, I'm a dad.
It's like music or dad. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really a big part of who I am right now, because I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. So I'm home with them during the days, and like I'm dad mostly. And then when my wife gets home from her teaching job, then I would go teach in the evenings. So we kind of do this trade-off thing right now.
And your wife is a music teacher too, right?
Yeah, Stephanie is a music teacher, elementary music teacher at Norwood School in Wetaskiwin.
Yeah. And she's been posting stuff too on YouTube.
She's got a website with all of her online content. It's stefolson.ca. Check her out too.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I guess with the kids too, it's kind of, I mean, my younger sister, she has 2 little girls too. So, and with this, like, you have to stay home. It's like, oh, like you go out and do your stuff, but it's like, you know.
It's a lot of time together. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're thankful for the nicer weather and having a backyard. We can finally
Yeah, I mean,
kind of get outside.
It's gonna rain today. I'm looking out there. I'm seeing some dark clouds. So.
Yeah.
But yeah. And hopefully, like, I'm still like thinking like, how do we get out of this? Like, when can we feel comfortable going? Oh, whatever. I'm comfortable going out. I just avoid people. I'm used to that.
Lots of hand washing.
Well, it's like I always find like I'll be walking my dog Ringo or something. Like, I just like there's a person coming like, head down, stay away from me. I'm like, wait, that's not different than normal.
Nothing has changed for us.
No, that's antisocial people. I mean, that's one thing for me. Okay, you're somebody who doesn't like to be featured, right? Like, you don't like to be the center of attention when it comes to performing. You're like, I'll be background music. Just put me on the piano on the side, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm okay performing. It's just I hate being in a crowd. That's my thing. I hate being in a crowd. So. But you've always been like, this is something I feel for myself too. But I like supporting others rather than being the focus. I'll do the focus, but I'd rather like support other people. Like, that's why I'm like a rhythm player. I'm more of a rhythm player because I'm like, I'd rather somebody else, you be featured. And maybe that's why teaching is good for me. I don't know.
Yeah, it is in just mentioning teaching to kind of put the student up in that role of being kind of the feature, and then it's fun at recitals like to play duets with students and things, but
Hmm.
they always have the featured part, and yeah, that kind of thing is fun.
Well, and I don't know. I want, and this is probably again where teaching comes in, but I want others to succeed because I know like I can do stuff, but there's definitely others that I can feel that I'm like, you have such potential. Let's do this, and I'll let you do the thing, and you deal with it. I'll make you sound better, but that's it. Like I'll just sit back
Right.
and play the rhythm on bass or something. Like, go ahead. That's what I like.
Well, for sure.
So,
I
and
do too.
I think that's important for teaching and everything because it shouldn't be about showing off to the students. Like you can show that it doesn't even take much to show off. I find like I'll listen to a song and I'll play the chords along with it. Like, how did you do that? I'm like, it's not that hard. But there's the simple things. Sometimes students like, how did you do that? And you're like, oh, it doesn't take much to impress a kid sometimes.
Right.
And
Well, that's part of our job too, is just to kind of show them things that are possible and to
Yeah.
inspire them to have an interest in it, because then once they have an interest, then they're a lot more likely to spend the time practicing too.
Right. And it's you play something and they're like, how did you do that? And it's like, okay, and then you just show them. And sometimes some things might be a little over the top for them, but
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So, what else do we got here? Oh, so like you did band and stuff, but like who's like affected your music the most over time? Like we talked about music, like bands and stuff, but you're kind of eclectic that way. But who's kind of affected your music over time, as like a mentors, or have you had any like sets of people that helped drive your music?
Yeah, well, you kind of gave me a heads up about some things we would talk about, and it made me wonder, like, who have my music teachers been? So I started to make a list,
Okay.
and I'm kind of surprised at, and now I've missed people, but Connie Stollery was my first piano teacher. Carla
Okay.
Thompson was my teacher for a long time in elementary years. Gail Hamilton was a piano teacher. Daryl Langell, I took theory from. Chris Andrew, I took jazz piano
Okay.
from. Rob Thompson, I took jazz piano. Milton Schlosser, I took some like fundamental keyboard skills at Augustana. Bob Bailey, I remember going to his like junior high get started band thing in like grade 6.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
Peter Thorpe was my band teacher for a while at Hay Lakes School. Tom Solden was a band teacher at Hay Lakes. Tom Spila at the Comp. Um, and I'm sure I'm missing people. My parents also are like pretty influential, and of course, friends and colleagues. But yeah, like I kind of assume, oh yeah, I took piano lessons as a kid. You think of having one teacher, but there are, I don't know, at least 10 people on this list that
Yeah.
have been like directly influential to me.
Okay. And like, would you say any like, I guess where have you just felt like you've always had the drive for music and learning music, or is it just like, has there been anyone who pushed you with that at all that you felt like was like, this is why I'm doing this? Okay.
I've probably from grade 3 or 4, when I picked up a recorder, I kind of felt like this is something that I like doing and I probably want to keep doing. So I think it's always like from
It's always been.
elementary, it's always been, I want to do music.
So you pick the most annoying instrument. You're like, yeah.
And then my favorite thing though is take 2 of them and play duets. So I've got a soprano here and an alto here, and then figure out
I'm
a
gonna.
transposition, play duets. Yeah. So I was always the geeky, annoying kid playing 2 recorders, but I mean that got me excited about music. So
Well, and it's funny because I think people wouldn't know this, but like you're being pretty restrained right now. Like we've done behind the scenes, we can be kind of odd. We'll put that. I'm always odd, but like we can do some stupid stuff.
yeah,
Or
stuff we
there's
don't
the
need to
inside
show.
jokes that we'll look at each other. Even I think we've done this in like big band and stuff where we look at each other and we're just like we know things are going down.
Right, right.
I'm not going to
No,
tell any stories of that because I might get in trouble with some people watching this. Anyhow, uh, like remember the time that this happened and then you looked at me and I looked at you and we're like, whoa. Yeah, There's things that
That's a lot of ensemble music making is just like facial expressions and looks and like, oh man, that was a sour note or it came in
well,
too
there's
early
times like
or
because we're
whatever.
not like I'm playing bass over there, and then you're like trombone, but I'll look over and we're looking at each other like because something happened. It's like, oh, but in a few groups like there's weird timing things because we've played like you moved to Vancouver for you were there like 9 years. Was it 9 years?
I meant to be there for 2 and I was there for 9. Yeah.
Right. But like I still knew like your timing and everything. I can understand your playing. Like we've always had that because we played for a long time. But there's those things you just know, and then so when something happens that we both know about, whether it's just we're in the same group or we look at each other, we're like, we breathe. So, alrighty. So, if anybody has any questions, who's watching, there's a couple people watching. You can put them now. For Eric, not for me. So, Bennett, I see you there. If you have questions, you can ask Eric, not me. These aren't questions for me. But do you have anything else like that you want to say before we kind of start closing out or anything? But I'll see if anyone has questions. I'll just wait for that. But.
One thing I'm kind of wondering about too is, like this past couple of years I've been teaching at OLMP school a little bit, doing a like intro guitar class, and we're looking ahead to like a class piano keyboard kind of thing. And I applied for to do an education degree at U of A, thinking of more like classroom teaching, and so I'm accepted into that, but now deciding should I actually go ahead with it next year.
Would that start in September?
It would start in September. Right. But with the uncertainty in the world and with education and cutbacks and stuff, so I mean that's just kind of my reality right now, is like making that decision of which way to go.
I know like some people who've been applying, like new teachers right now, it's like the school board is telling them like, we're cutting back, we're not hiring.
Layoffs all over the place.
Especially if it's a specialized field, it's like, we don't know.
So yeah, it's unfortunate that it's so kind of uncertain right now.
Right. I mean, this might be a kind of a write-off year, and then who knows what's going to be happening the next year, sort of thing. Like it might just be a year of like a roller coaster. Who knows? Because if it comes back in the fall, like this whole virus thing gets like another boost.
Right. Second wave or whatever.
Yeah. But that's unfortunate because I'm even looking at like Augustana and stuff, and like the U of A campus here, what's going to happen with some of the programs. Because I mean, did you get the email from about the administrator?
Well, there being there's that one, and entire programs just a couple of days ago, like the nursing program is cut, and is it like I shouldn't misspeak, is it business management or something? There's another, or physio. Oh, I shouldn't say if I don't know. There are 2 programs that were just cut at Augustana.
Yeah. Well, and like they were already closed. Like there was going to be a fight for the Vikings hockey team. Who knows? Probably not though. The fitness center shut down.
Right.
So there's a lot of crazy stuff. Like I look at like the fall, and again the uncertainty of like what's going to happen there, even anywhere.
Yeah.
How much is online? What programs can continue? Because I know they were going to switch to pedagogy, right? Music pedagogy, like the program.
That was at different focus for the music program.
Yeah.
It's now official, which is the initiative of our Del Reese, and I think it's a good shift, I think, but it'll be interesting to see how it can happen in the time of so many cutbacks and financial restraints. So.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. It's But yeah, so you would have been, and your wife, she's going for her doctorate, isn't she?
She's starting a PhD in September. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In education, at U of A.
Would you be doing it like at the North Campus?
Yeah, she'll have to commute mostly to Edmonton.
Okay.
But that's a long road too. Like it'll probably take 6 years
Yeah, yeah.
to fit that in. So
Well, especially yeah, if you're trying to do a whole bunch of things at the same time, that can take a lot of
yeah,
time.
other work and being a parent and just
Yeah,
balancing life, right?
as much as you can, especially with this stuff craziness going on. All right.
Hmm.
So it doesn't look like we have any questions today. So why don't let's talk about songs. And I asked you pick a song, maybe two if you want to do a second one. But like, what songs really affect you? What's something good? And then you're gonna do performance piece. Yay! That's you. That's all
Okay.
you. And you can sing if you want.
No, absolutely not. Um, yeah, I will play an arrangement that I have of some hymns, actually. So when I was in
Okay.
Vancouver, I worked as a music director at a United Church for 5 years, and part of the practice there was at the end of every service, I'd play a postlude um, as people are leaving. So this is something that I would enjoy playing at the church. So it's a combination of some hymns, praise to the Lord the Almighty, and praise God from whom all blessings flow, the doxology, with some other random musical um, references in there too. But this is something that we've played before, but it's just something I
Okay.
like to play solo piano. So
Sure.
I'll do that.
I'll give you the thing. I'm gonna mute myself. Cool. So was that like an arrangement you made yourself then?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
started as just kind of an exercise at Augustana and university. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So, we're gonna close out then. So this is Erik Olson. You know him, you love him from whatever you've seen him in. Hopefully he's the quiet one that never says anything, but he does a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Music teacher, sound man. He can be recorded. Go to www.erikssound.ca if you want to check out some of his stuff and get in touch with him for some of these things he does: weddings, funerals, sound recording, all those things.
Funeral. Book me for your funeral.
But that's something you're hired out probably by the funeral home, right? So
That's right. Yeah.
So if there's funeral homes that want to hire him for funerals, there you go.
Yeah.
You can follow him on Facebook, and you've got some YouTube stuff, I think, right?
A little bit. Yeah.
A little bit. And then Instagram too, but some of those kind of blend together. Yeah, your Facebook is, what is it? Erik Olson.
Oh, it's like Erik Olson, music teacher or something. If you search that, you'll find me.
I'll put that. I'll link it in the description. But so yeah, check him out. Yeah. So thanks, Erik, for doing this, and maybe another time if depends how it goes. But I'm gonna be trying to do people weekly. So thanks again.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me on.
Cool. So for those who are watching next Saturday, still doing a Saturday, I'll be bringing on David Salmon, who we've actually played with before. He plays in the big band too. We did a jazz trio with him, so I'll be bringing him on to talk about stuff. He just finished his thing here, his degree here, didn't he?
He just had his tuba grad recital. And
Yeah, right.
He's going to Edmonton and doing his
So,
education
yeah.
degree too. Yeah.
I'll bring him on.
Cool.
Busy boy, that boy is.
I think. Yeah.
So you're busy too, but you're just more like hiding. So it's fine. Cool. So David Salmon next week. Thanks, Erik, again.
You're
And
welcome.
I'm just hang on one sec. I'm just gonna close out, and then and if you want to follow me, I'm Stephen Hartman, by the way. www.stephenhartmanmusic.com. I can do Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I'm doing Patreon, which is a thing I'll probably do a separate video on, whatever. But anyhow, yeah. So I'm just gonna mute you for a sec. I'll be right back.
Okay.